We
Okay. Hi
okay.
everyone.
Hello everyone and welcome to Cube 2022.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay.
Great to be back here, Cody. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How about you, Dafa?
I'm pretty good. I think. Very
Nice,
excited
nice.
to be in this event. How about you,
Yeah, me
Cody?
too, me too. I'm really
Yes,
excited right now.
really
Like,
pumped.
oh my god, my heart.
I could
Okay.
barely sleep last night just thinking of this event, Cody.
Yeah, I know,
Uh,
right? I prepared like all night. I only slept like only
mhm,
for
mhm.
4 hours last night, only for this.
Yeah, same. And, but yeah, welcome everyone, and we're really excited to be here. And maybe we can start with an introduction. What do you think, Cody?
Okay, so before we start everything, before we start the Cubes 2022, we need to introduce ourselves like tidak kenal maka tidak sayang. Okay, so
Wait.
hi everyone. My name is Justin Cody, and I will be your MC for this year's Cube 2022. And I will be accompanied by.
By me, Dafa, and I will also be your MC for this year's Cube events. Nah, jadi kita berdua nih bakal nemenin kalian selama the entirety of Cube 2022, starting from today's webinar all the way up to the last competition day. Ya kan, Kot?
Yap, bener banget tuh. Jadi kayak we will be here dari day one, day two, day three, day four, mau ada day five juga
Di
bisa kita temenin gaskun. Mau
day
jalan-jalan
5 bikin
gaskun
sendiri ya, Kot.
juga. Iya, bikin-bikin aja dah kita
Iya,
bikin day five ya sama
iya,
bareng MC.
iya.
Nah,
Hopefully
makanya
audience di YouTube nggak bosen-bosen amat ya sama kita, Kot.
bener banget, bener banget. Makanya jangan lupain nih, follow the event guys. Jangan lupa ikutin terus nih,
Yes.
karena prosesnya panjang kayak tadi ya udah bilang day one, day two, day three, day four, mau ada day five boleh juga. Jadi stay tune terus di sini. And for
Iya.
today, boleh dong spill the beans stuff.
Mhm,
What are we going to
mhm.
do today?
Boleh. Jadi kan ya for sure ya audiens kita tuh orang-orang yang udah pasti aktif semua dan semangat banget pasti buat dengerin webinar-webinar yang nanti kita bakal bawain. Tapi apa ya topiknya, Kor? Coba kasih tahu dong. Apa sih materinya ini? Lu dong kasih tahu.
Oke. Ini emang ketahuan Dava tuh tidak pernah baca MCQ card dia tuh selalu
Waduh.
impromptu, semuanya langsung impromptu gitu. Oke. Jadi aku kasih tahu dikit nih karena aku udah baca cue card, hari ini bakal ada webinar pertama dan kedua. So there will be 2 webinars for today. The first one is about introduction to YOLO Economy. Apa tuh YOLO?
Wah,
You only live
YOLO.
once. Apa
You only
tuh?
live once dong.
Iya, makanya bingung juga kan masa
Oh.
ekonomi di-YOLO-in. Wah, nah bingung kan sebagai tema Cube 2022 tuh. Nah, kan harus attend makanya. Dan juga ada tentang 3 Rs of the perfect life. 3 Rs apa tuh, Daf? Reduce, reuse, recycle kah? Wah, bingung kan? Makanya
Iya,
harus stay
betul.
tune guys ya. Terus karena dijamin bakal informatif, knowledge semua, untuk speakers knowledgeable semua dan keren-keren abis.
For sure. Jadi benar banget sih. Okay, maybe as a quick recap, yeah. So specifically for today's webinar, our very first topic will be an introduction to YOLO Economy, and the second topic will be about the 3 Rs of the perfect life. Both are kind of like mysterious almost. Yeah, nggak sih, Kot? Like it's like very interesting in my opinion. Okay.
True.
Yeah. Okay, jadi should be quite interesting. I've also heard that our speakers are also very cool.
Yeah, that's true because one of the speakers is not from Indonesia. How cool is that?
Ooh.
Like, what? Outside speakers? Oh my god.
Nice. Going international, Kak.
Yeah. Cube is going international.
Iya. Oke. Nah, pasti udah pada nggak sabar kan ya buat lanjutin dengerin webinarnya. Nah, tapi nih, before we get right on to it, boleh banget sih kita dengerin dulu opening speech dari orang-orang yang berjasa atas berlangsungnya Cube 2022. Without them, this event wouldn't have been as amazing as it will be for you guys. So, without further ado, please welcome Kak Livia Priscilla sebagai Chairman of Best Association dan juga Kak Natasha Angel sebagai Chairman of Cube 2022.
A warm and pleasant good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Livia Priscilla, and on behalf of Business Economics Student Association, I would like to welcome KPMG as this year's case contributor, Professor Jisman Simanjuntak as Director of Universitas Prasetiya Mulya, honorable guests and speakers, and all the webinar and competition participants. It is my greatest honor to be here today on this auspicious occasion and welcome you to CUBE 2022. CUBE, or Competition for University in Business and Economics, is an annual event and one of the biggest events held under BEST Association. In line with BEST Association's vision, which is to become revolutionary pioneers in Indonesia, who will bring in a new economic perspective on existing businesses and startups, CUBE is formed as a platform for university students to utilize their potential and abilities in analyzing business and economic conditions with real-life business problems. And this year, it is a great honor for us to have the opportunity to collaborate with KPMG as our case contributor to share their perspective as well as their real-life cases for this competition with the theme YOLO Economy, Burning Out in the Burning World. I would like to show my gratitude towards the committee, as of course none of this would happen if it is not from the hard work and commitment from CUBE 2022's committee. I would also like to express my gratitude to KPMG, Universitas Prasetiya Mulya, honorable guests and speakers, and all participants. CUBE 2022 would not exist without all of your support and contribution. Lastly, I would like to give my best wishes to all of the teams in the competition. Whatever the outcome will be, remember, you all have won in facing all the obstacles and challenges that exist during this process. Thank you for your participation, and hopefully CUBE 2022 could enlighten us for a better future. Thank you.
Greetings. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon us all. Shalom. Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya. Salam Kebajikan. Deans and directors, faculty members and non-teaching staff, partners and guardians, students, distinguished guests, and participants of CUBE 2022. With much delight, I welcome you on behalf of CUBE 2022's committee to our 5th annual competition for University in Business and Economics, otherwise known as CUBE. In the same breath, I want to thank all participants who have bravely entered themselves in this competition. My name is Natasha Angel, acting as CUBE 2022's chairman. First and foremost, CUBE 2022 is an annual business case competition held by the Student Association of S1 Business Economics, Universitas Prasetiya Mulya. I would like to express my utmost gratitude to Universitas Prasetiya Mulya and BEST Association for supporting our event from the very start. PT KPMG Siddhartha Advisory for becoming this year's official case contributor. Sponsors, media partners, and community partners that have endlessly promoted our event, as well as my gratitude towards all committee members that have been working tirelessly in making this event happen. It goes without saying that this event is the culmination of an enormous collective effort. Ladies and gentlemen, this past couple of years, we have witnessed a significant shift in the way people see and feel about their work. After a year spent hunched over our MacBooks and during back-to-back Zooms in between bike rides, we're flipping the carefully arranged chessboards of our lives and deciding to risk it all. People are abandoning cushy and stable jobs to pursue riskier gigs. The movement is exacerbated by the dissatisfaction felt by employees across the globe. Early last year, the term YOLO Economy, or the Great Resignation, was coined to explain the massive resignation event. The significant shift in career transition and work culture is an issue that many businesses did not anticipate. It has impacted work culture, employee turnover, and it has certainly raised resignation numbers of an unprecedented nature. It is a significant opportunity for employers to raise their investment in human elements of work and rethink their corporate culture in order to retain and acquire talents to ensure their business success. In that respect, I am more delighted to interact with notable speakers, participants, corporate sectors, and international organizations in order to learn from one another and benefit from their wide skills. In this competition, I would like to encourage future employees and employers to create a more mindful, inclusive, and engaging work environment to boost employee morale. To retain top talent is to nurture and breed great leaders. Good leadership gives everyone in the company the confidence that they are under the guidance of someone who is credible and knowledgeable. Leadership inspires people to try new concepts and venture into unknown territories that will develop both their personal and professional skills. Thus, the call to enter a new wave of work culture and evaluation of company culture serves as the chief issue of CUBE 2022, which we hope to explore today. I'm sure this conference, its notable speakers and panel discussions will echo that message, and I hope that each of us here from many walks of life learn from one another. In short, ladies and gentlemen, CUBE is off to a fine start. I am grateful for its commitment to safeguarding the competitive heart of all students who have participated. I wish you a rewarding conference and nothing but good business and fair competition. Thank you.
Oke, keren banget nih. Jadi terima kasih banyak nih untuk Kak Livia Priscilla sebagai Chairman of Best Association and Kak Natasha Angel sebagai Chairman of CUBE 2022 atas opening speech ya. Without them, without their support, without their abilities and leadership themselves, this CUBE 2022 won't happen, Daf. Right, Daf?
100% agree. And yes, we're very grateful to have them and also to have the entirety of CUBE 2022's organization to hold this event for you guys. And hopefully, I guess we'll be able to enjoy this event, this competition to the most, right? Very, very cool.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So, gimana nih, Daf? How do you feel after ini opening speech? Jadi berarti CUBE 2022 ini is officially open.
Iya dong, it's open to you guys, and once again, welcome and all the best too. Ya kan, Kot?
Bener banget nih.
Iya.
Kayak rasanya gimana ya, deg-degan banget gak sih? For 1 month we're going to be together, everyone in the
Yeah.
YouTube chat. We're going to be together for 1 month, and you're gonna meet me and Dafa for 4 days in a row. I don't know. I feel like it's very nerve wracking, you know,
Yeah,
for
it's a bit
me.
nerve-wracking, yeah. Yeah, semoga the people on YouTube nggak bosan ngeliat kita lah ya, Kot.
Bener banget.
Hopefully, yeah, we'll definitely do our best to entertain you guys as well, and hopefully the material that we bring will also be entertaining and yang lebih penting lagi, informative for you guys, right, Kot?
Benar banget. Yang penting kalian tuh bisa belajar di sini, guys. You guys can study. Ya belajarnya bukan belajar kayak di universitas ya, cuman belajar banyak hal nantinya dari webinar-webinar, dari speaker-speaker kami, from the information that we are going to give from all of the webinar and the competition itself. Because fun fact, there's a lot of people learn from the competition that they join. So I hope you guys can learn from the competition itself too, not only from the webinar.
Yeah, in my opinion, joining organizations, joining competitions, that's like half of the experience, half of the fun, and half of the knowledge that you obtained in university. So I think it's great that all of you on YouTube are here today and being with us, joining this competition. I think that's very cool and very respectable. And hopefully we'll have a great ride along until next month. Ya kan, Kot?
Yes, that's true. So we're going to have a 1 month. Okay, maybe it's time for us to introduce someone, I guess, Dafa?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, nah selanjutnya nih ya, yang udah kita tunggu-tunggu dari awal, right from the beginning, okay? So, this will be the speaker for our very first CUBE 2022 webinar, and it's none other than Bapak Alvin Desfiandi. Woo! Very, very cool. Okay, so maybe I can give a quick brief background and he will also be introducing himself later. Jadi beliau ini salah satu faculty member di Prasmul atau biasanya kalau di kampus lain disebut dosen. And fun fact, he's actually one of my faculty members, and I remember that he's also your faculty member for a semester, right, Ko?
Yes, he was my faculty member for my second semester on macroeconomics. So yeah, I know him well.
Cool. Yeah. He's a great faculty member. That's for sure. Oke, jadi beliau juga pernah jadi menjadi staff di Kementerian Koordinator Bidang Perekonomian Indonesia loh, guys.
Yap,
pretty
nggak
cool.
sampai situ aja, udah faculty member in Prasetiya Mulya, Kementerian Koordinator Bidang Perekonomian Indonesia, panjang sekali. And he is the co-founder of Serious Camera Bag. That's really cool, because I actually use one of his products. Like,
Oh, yes?
wow. Yeah, because
That's sick.
I'm really interested with photography, right, Dafa? And
Yeah.
Serious is one
Oh,
of the
yeah,
brand
that I
that is
know.
actually people use. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's very interesting, very well accomplished person. And yeah, without further ado, I think everyone here is also very excited to hear from him. So, without further ado, langsung aja kalian nih kita sambut. So, please welcome Bapak Alvin Desfiandi right onto the stage with us.
Oke.
Halo.
Hai Pak Alvin.
Hai Pak
Halo semua,
Alvin.
good afternoon.
Hai, good afternoon.
Selamat datang nih Pak Alvin. Gimana nih rasanya? How do you feel Pak Alvin being here as one of our speaker nih?
Very excited actually, to see all the, to be participating in this event, right? Q 2022, and can't wait to share my knowledge regarding YOLO economics, and also thank you for inviting me here. Yeah, it's really an honor.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, and we're really grateful that you took the time out of your day to also be with us today. And yeah, we're also very happy to see you here outside of our usual, classroom setting where you're teaching us. Now we're bringing you to teach other people, and I think that's really, really fun also. So yeah, to everyone here, look forward because he's a great faculty member, and I'm very sure that he will be able to teach everyone here very well about YOLO economy, because I think that's a very interesting topic, right, Cody?
Yes, that's true. Because, in my opinion, what I know about YOLO is like you only live once. Like, so you take every risk, just do what you want. So I'm kind of confused how it's connected with economy. So
very interested to see the the correlation right between those two things.
Yeah, that's so true.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Okay, so shall we give the stage to Pak Alvin now, Cody?
Okay, so Pak Alvin, without further ado, the stage is yours.
All right. Oh, you already have. Okay. So there's an operator operating my PPT here. Hello. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to give you a cue. Alrighty then. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, as Dafa and Cody has introduced me, my name is Alvin, and I'm going to present you this today's topic: Introduction to YOLO Economy and the Rise of YOLO. Next. So before we talk about YOLO economy, and actually apart from YOLO economy, I'm going also to discuss about other phenomenon actually closely related to YOLO economy. But first, let me explain the definition or the meaning of YOLO. So it's an acronym for You Only Live Once, and it shot to fame in 2012 by the rapper Drake, and with his song The Motto, right? Now, today's young purveyors of YOLO do indeed appear to be trying to work it right through what the means is up for debate. However, it is often seen as a carefree tag to explain an impulsive choice, like you want to park illegally in the spot. YOLO, should I buy these shoes or pay rent? YOLO, okay? Now, even as teenagers argue over the merits of YOLOing, their parents, teachers, and Gen X baby boomers remain largely oblivious to this expression. Yeah. However, carpe diem, if you know, as a Latin phrase meaning seize the day, actually share similar concept with YOLO. Yeah, both give a message that people only have so much life left to live, so it's best to enjoy life and follow your dreams. Now, what does it have anything to do with YOLO economy? Next. Right. Now, YOLO economy, coined by the New York Times columnist Kevin Rose in 2012, if I'm mistaken, yes, 2012. It's actually an economy where millennial workers make decisions based on mantra YOLO, you only live once. So it represents a huge shift happening in the US workplace. Yeah, so it's initially happened in the United States of America. Yeah, it affects labor market in there. Now, some of it has been driven by COVID-19, but much has been powered by a deeply human need to explore talents in new ways, and maybe even in new places. Now, about millennials, they are born in 1981 until 1996. Yeah, um, are you part of the millennials? Or Gen Z born in 1997 and 2012. However, um, this phenomenon actually, or YOLO economy mindset is actually carried out by not only millennials, but it turns out Gen Z as well. Now, this YOLO economy, yeah, encourages the great resignation phenomenon. This is also one of the phenomenon that I want to talk about. So it's not just YOLO economy, but it's also great resignation. But because it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's closely related to that. Yeah. Although it's not the sole or the only factor that can explain great resignation, but YOLO economy, may perpetuate great resignation in the future. Now, what is great resignation? It's actually a phenomenon in the United States again, where overwork U.S. millennials or U.S. millennial workers who are burned out, and they're foregoing cushy financial secure jobs in favor of high-risk ventures. See, so that's definition of great resignation. Is an ongoing phenomenon in the United States, but later on, I'm going to show you that this is actually not just a localized phenomenon, but actually globally, it's currently happening. I will show you the data later on. Now, in 2021, over 47 million Americans voluntarily quit their jobs, according to US BLS. Now, with a taste of working from home due to pandemic, right, employees have discovered a newfound freedom, flexible schedules, and more autonomy. That's one of the important factors of contributing to this phenomenon. With more personal time to ponder and fewer work-related social connections, millennial employees, to be specific, feel less attached to their teams and organization and are willing to explore job and career options. So instead of going back to the office, millions are choosing business ownership or freelance work so they can decide where and when to work. And I think there's a saying about these kind of workers. It's called contingent workers. Yeah, contingent workers to prefer to work freelance so that they can have more time to for their own doing other things that they actually like. So contingent workers now, that's what we call them. Now, millennials are leading the charge in the Great Resignation. But I think not only millennials but also Gen Z who are already take part in the labor market. They are leading, both of them, both generations are leading the charge in the Great Resignation, and have become more emboldened and risk prone as they flip the idea of burnout to a healthier mentality of YOLO. Okay, according to Gallup in 2021, they identified the generation as most likely to switch jobs mainly due to the feeling unattached to their company. Yeah, and again, as I mentioned earlier, cite burnout and the need for work-life balance as top factors that negatively impact their days, according to Wall Street Journal in 2021. Next. Right. Now, um, a survey by Microsoft in March 2021 found that 41% of US workers were thinking about leaving their jobs. And another survey by McKinsey in July 2022 put that number at 40%. According to Bonnie Dowling, a co-author of this McKinsey report, saying that this isn't just a passing trend or a pandemic-related change to the labor market. There's been a fundamental shift in workers' mentality and their willingness to prioritize other things in their life beyond whatever job they hold. Okay, um, higher pay, higher pay, better benefits, and more fulfilling work were the main reasons, according to USBLS in 2021. However, now inflation is also one of them, with price in the US running at 40-year high, snail-paced wage rises, and a near record high number of job openings. Why wouldn't workers be looking for greener pastures? Yeah. And many workers who quit their jobs also do so to shift towards a different industry. Okay, so like of people in the past year who quit jobs in finance and insurance area, we all know that these industries are one of the lucrative ones, yeah, high paying ones. However, 60% did not return to the workforce or departed for a different job sector. Yeah, so see, this is interesting, right? So wages is not now is no longer the main determinants, the only important one. Yeah, other factors contributing to that. Now, if we look at the Great Resignation, next. Sorry, next. Yeah, this one. Yep. Next, if you look at this chart, yeah, in 2021, according to USBLS, again, over 47 million Americans voluntarily quit their jobs. It's an unprecedented mass exit from the workforce, spurred on by the pandemic that is now widely being called the Great Resignation. However, if you look at this, it's actually an ongoing trend. Okay, it's an ongoing trend, so it's not because due to pandemic and boom, Great Resignation is there. Yeah, but it's actually an ongoing trend. Worker shortages, if you look at this chart, is apparent everywhere. Gas station and dentist offices in the United States, yeah, like have reduced their hours of operation because they cannot find new employees to replace those who have quit. Yeah. Now, but such talk is overrated or overblown because if we, again, as I mentioned, this is an ongoing trend. A record number of workers did quit their jobs in 2021. Yeah, that's the fact. However, if you consider that number in the context of total employment during the past dozen years, as illustrated in this figure, you can see that what the Americans are living through is not just a short-term turbulence provoked by the pandemic, but rather the continuation of a long-term trend. Okay, this figure tells a clear story. From 2009 until 2019, the average monthly quit rate increased by 0.10 percentage points each year. Then in 2020, because of the uncertainty brought on by COVID-19 pandemic, the resignation rate slowed as workers held on their jobs in greater numbers. Yeah, but that pause was short-lived. In 2021, next year, as stimulus checks were sent out and some of the uncertainty abated, a record number of workers quit the jobs. Boom, 47 million, creating the so-called Great Resignation. But that number included many workers who might otherwise have quit in 2022 had there been no pandemic. Now, the Americans are now back in line with the pre-pandemic trend, see, increasing over time, which is one that American employers are likely to be contending with for years to come. Next. Right. Now, if you look at this chart, it's clear, right? US employers saw record levels of job opening and workers quitting in March, pointing to intensifying labor market tightness that will keep pushing wage higher at a rapid clip. The number of available positions increased to 11.5 million in the month from 11.3 million in February. The Labor Department's Job Opening and Labor Turnover Survey, or JOLTS, showed Tuesday the median forecast in a Bloomberg survey of economists called for 11.2 million opening. You see, it's interesting if you look at this chart. Yeah, number of jobs opening increased, but the number of voluntary quits also increased as well. Now, you see, next. Yeah, now if you look at this figure, yeah, can focus on the purple line here. Yeah, that's U.S. unemployment rate for unemployment rates over time. In many ways, it's best of times in the hot U.S. labor market because unemployment rate is near a 50-year low, with joblessness for minorities at or near all-time lows. However, if we go to the next slide, labor force participation rate declining. Yeah, and it seems like it's been stuck at around that level, 63.4. Yeah, if you look at this chart, U.S. labor participation rate remains stuck near long-term lows. The share of working-age Americans that are employed or looking for a job tumbled during 2008 and 2009 financial crisis, global financial crisis, GFC, and kept falling for 7 years, even after 10 years of economic recovery. Yeah, so you can look at the. Sorry, I'm not using pointers. So the shaded bars indicated economic recession. Yeah, in the United States. Yeah, so you see 2008 2009 latest latest final recession in the US. Yeah, you see here, you see there, yeah, on the slide. Yeah, the labor force participation rate tumbled. Yeah. Now, after economic recovery, 10 years after economic recovery from the GFC, the labor force participation rate was just 63.4% as of January 2020. That suggests an ever larger part of the population is leaving the workforce permanently. I'll look at the recent data in 2021. Also, until early 2022, also the labor force participation rate remains stuck, around that level, 60% something, 63% something. So, there's hasn't been improvement as well today. Yeah, next. Now, according to Joseph Fuller and William Kerr, they are columnists at Harvard Business Review, there are factors exacerbated by COVID-19 pandemic that contributed to this phenomenon, Great Resignations. Yeah. Workers are retiring in greater numbers. Yeah, they are workers in great numbers retiring early ages. But are not relocating in large numbers. They are reconsidering their work-life balance, and care roles. Three. Fourth, they are making localized switches among industries, or reshuffling, rather than exiting the labor market entirely. And because of pandemic-related fears, they are demonstrating reluctance to return to in-person jobs. Okay. Now, next. Other factors, that may perpetuate the Great Resignation among millennial workers, also Gen Z workers with YOLO mindset, is first one is more autonomy. Many millennials watch their parents work themselves to the bone for decades in traditional jobs with little to no reward for their hard work and dedication. Now that the ball is in their court, millennials have the opportunity to change their future and take control of their own life. Second factor, millennials get to millennials get to set their own workflow and adjust it as they see fit. Third factor, instead of wasting time commuting to and from an office, millennials, Gen Z workers can use that time for more meaningful activities. And work is much more enjoyable for millennials when it's centered around something that they like and truly care about. That's the fourth factor. Last one, self-fulfillment. It's extremely fulfilling for millennial Gen Z workers to take their dream and turn it into a reality and continue to work on that dream day in and day out. Now, if we want to look at the U.S. labor market demographics, so go next slide. You see from this figure, millennials became the largest generation in labor force in 2016, and the trend is still, is still there. According to this data, more than 1 in 3 American labor force participants, 35% of the labor force participants are millennials, making them the largest generation in the U.S. labor force, according to a Pew Research Center analysis of U.S. Census Bureau data. As of 2017, most recent year for which data are available, 56 million millennials, those ages 21 to 36 in 2017, were working or looking for work. That was more than the 53 million generation Xers, who accounted for a third of the labor force, and was well ahead of the 41 million baby boomers, who represented a quarter of the total. Millennials surpassed Gen Xers in 2016. Meanwhile, the oldest members of the post-millennial generation, those born after 1996, are now working age. So that's as I said. So now, not only millennials but also Gen Z. Last year, 9 million post-millennials or Gen Z, those who have reached working age, 16 to 20, were employed or looking for work, comprising 50% of the labor force. Still minority, but Now, next slide. If you look at the projection of population by generation, millennials have surpassed baby boomers as the U.S. largest living adult generation, according to the population estimates from the U.S. Census Bureau in 2019. The latest data available. Millennials, whom we define as age 23 to 38 in 2019, numbered 72.1 million. Boomers, ages 55 to 73, numbered 71.6 million. If you look at this data, Generation X, ages 39 to 45, numbered around 65.2 million, and is projected to pass the boomers in population by 2028. Now, the millennials generation continues to grow as young immigrants expand its ranks. Boomers whose generations was defined by the boom in the U.S. birth following World War II are aging, and their numbers shrinking in size as the number of deaths among them exceeds the number of older immigrants arriving in the country. Now, if we try to relate this phenomenon with an economic theory, next, actually can be explained with this backward bending supply curve. You see, so this supply curve, represent the relationship between hours of labor, hours of working with earnings. Yeah. Now, if you look at this curve, you see at some point the relationship is positive. There's positive correlation between hours of labor and earnings. As the number of hours of working increase, level of earnings also increase. Now that's true for workers that earn below base pay. Now if it's above base pay, the supply curve begins to slope backward. Yeah. Now this this backward bending is mainly caused by the larger income effect rather than substitution effect. What is substitution effect and income effect? Substitution effect states that a higher wage makes work more attractive than leisure. However, income effect states that a higher wage means workers can achieve a target income by working fewer hours. So that's why when people earn enough wages up to the level that they want to work for less, supply curve begins to slope backward. So, for example, if an individual has only modest demands and is interested in leisure pursuits, or flexible hours, his goal may be to gain $50,000 a year. So in rupiah, that would be 5 times 15, around 750,000. 750 million. A year. And then after that, maximize leisure time. In this case, after wage increase above $50,000 per year, the income effect dominates, and with higher wages, he can afford to have more time off work. Or if individual has large expenses and little interest in leisure pursuits, the substitution effect is likely to have more significance. Therefore, the relationship between hours of work or hours of labor is positive with earnings. So if wages increase, it gives an increased incentive to work longer hours, as he can gain increased income and buy more goods. So some of this can be explained with this economic concept, which you will learn later on in microeconomics, specifically in labor market topic. Now next, so that's the portrait of U.S. labor market. How about the labor market around the world? Now, Great Resignation around the world, as I said earlier, is no longer a local phenomenon in the US, but also globally. So in March 2022, PricewaterhouseCoopers surveyed around 52,000 individuals, who are in work or active in the labor market. The sample was designed to reflect a range of industries, demographic characteristics, and working patterns. The sample was structured across 44 countries and territories, including Indonesia, and sample range from 5,000 to 250, with an average sample size per territory of around 1,200. The key finding is 1 in 5 workers globally planning to quit in 2022. Okay. Now, next. Right. Now, it says, according to the survey, pay our wage, pay or wage is unsurprisingly the main factor in people wanting to change jobs, with 71% citing it is as a key reason, so as you can see from this chart. Yet, money isn't enough by itself to retain workers, who are almost as likely to cite intangible factors related to meaning. Job fulfillment and the ability to be one's true self at work were ranked second and third among employees considering a job change. While some managers fear employees discussing sensitive and potentially divisive social and political issues at work, the survey found that 65% of workers discuss such issues with colleagues frequently or sometimes, with a number higher for younger workers, which is 69%, and ethnic minorities, 73%. This report, PricewaterhouseCoopers report, encouraged employers to do more to facilitate and support these conversations. How do they facilitate? We'll discuss about that at the end of this presentation. Next. Now, work flexibility is of increasing importance to staff, according to the report. However, there's a disconnect with how employers see things. See, 26 of employees say they would prefer full-time remote working, but only 18% say their employer is likely to adopt that model. Another 18% said that their employer is likely to require full-time in-person work, which just 11% of employees prefer. Of course, a significant proportion of the global workforce is unable to work remotely. This group, 45% of respondents reported less satisfaction with their job than those working in hybrid or fully remote work settings. So 50% compared to 63% found this survey. Next. Workers with specialized training are in high demand, and they know it, according to the survey. This group was far more confident about asking for pay rises, 41% compared to 25% of workers with no specialized training, or promotions, 37% compared to 21% of workers with no specialized training in the next 12 months. And empowered employees means greater job satisfaction, which in turn is good news for the company, according to PwC, as these employees were far more likely to recommend their place of work, 45% compared to 29% of workers with no specialized training. Next. Now, if you look at this, employees largely believe that their employers will provide the work options they prefer in the coming year, which is 2023. So if you look at this figure, 63% prefer a mix of in-person and remote working, so it's hybrid basically. And 63% expect the employees to offer hybrid within the next 12 years. 26% prefer full-time remote working, and 80% of those expect their employers to offer a full-time remote option. But only 11% prefer full-time in-person working, and 18% of those expect their employees to require full-time in-person working. Next. Now that's about Great Resignation in around the world. Sorry, Great Resignation around the world. How about in Indonesia? Do you think Great Resignation is happening? And also, do you think majority of Indonesian workers have this YOLO mindset? Now, um, according to Payaman Simanjuntak, Great Resignation in Indonesia is unlikely to happen in the short run due to lack of social security, especially for the unemployed. Yeah. According to him, in the US, the unemployed automatically get enough social security to live on while they are, while they are finding jobs that fit with their preferences, or or that, and these workers can easily seek tax-free day jobs. However, if we look at the Indonesian workers demographic, and um, yeah, it's the situation is rather similar with what US has, also with countries around the world. Yeah, because nowadays, well, basically millennials, they are dominating labor market. Okay, so it's only natural that they will share similar mindset with other millennials around the world in general. Yeah. Now, according to the Mercer's data, yeah, collected from more than 2,003,000 to 20, sorry, to 20, 23,000 employees or workers in Indonesia, employee engagement scores in Indonesia continue to exceed the Asia Pacific and global average. It's a good thing, except for the employees' intent to stay. And 90% of respondents said that they are motivated and proud of what they do. However, only 67% indicated that they are likely to stay in their jobs. The stressors of the pandemic and limited career advancement have emerged as primary drivers of higher than usual attrition levels. Yeah, about 30% of the respondents feel that they cannot meet their career goals in the company they are in. And employees in Indonesia report feeling overworked. They also burned out, burdened by their job-related responsibilities. 25% of the respondents say they cannot maintain a reasonable work-life balance, or 1 out of 4 workers, say they cannot maintain it. Next. Now, according to the Glint's 2022 salary trends and guide, 24.7% of respondents are satisfied with their jobs. Only 24.7%. Yeah. These are the results of the Glint survey, which was attended by around 1,600 workers, respondents, and it based on the data. Sorry, based on the report, Indonesian workers are increasingly selective in choosing the company they work for, and working arrangements is one of the major determining factors. So according to this report, 60.8% of respondents are actively looking for a new job. 26.1% feel their work life only 26% feel the work-life balance. So it's rather low number. 50.7% of respondents claim to be dissatisfied and very dissatisfied with the salary received in 2021. And 43% of workers said that they appreciated the flexible working hours system when considering a new position. And last, possibility to work remotely is considered important for 26% of workers. So as you can see from here, findings, it's similar what the findings that McKinsey has globally. So now if you look at this next slide. So if you look at this chart, yeah, in contrast to the US labor market. So I think this data support Payaman Simanjuntak's comment regarding Great Resignation that's unlikely to happen in Indonesia in the short run. And yes, if you look at this chart, in contrast to the US labor market, the trend of Indonesia's labor force participation rate shows a steady increase. Yeah. Next. And if you look at this charts, yeah, according to the Central Statistic Agency or BPS, Bureau Pusat Statistik, yeah, the labor force participation rate reached 69.96% in February 2022. This figure increased from the previous year, 2021, which was still 68.08% in February 2021. So you see, the Great Resignation is unlikely to happen now in Indonesia, but I don't know, in the future might be the case. But if you look at the findings that Glintz has, yeah, you see the YOLO mindset is already here, yeah, among millennial workers, Indonesian millennial workers, and Gen Z workers, already there. So I think it's imperative for employers, yeah, to adapt and and they have companies, employers, they have to be aware, yeah, that the rethinking of the office in the era of YOLO economy. Yeah. Characteristic that workplace should have to facilitate the return to the office, even for those who manifest the YOLO attitude. First is hybrid. Flexibility of times and places. Autonomy, a not hierarchical and not control-based organization are the main cornerstones, together with technological equipment and environmental quality. But no less important are the emotional aspects. Few are willing to give up a job that gives way for their attitudes and passion. The work environment must be redesigned as a place where you can feel privileged and pampered, as a space that welcomes people and also nature, where you can spend moments of well-being. Okay, so now in conclusion, next, yeah, YOLO economy represents a huge shift happening in the US workplace. Yeah, but that's also, but currently it's not only US, but globally it's also happening. Yeah. The Great Resignation is a global phenomenon. It's likely here to stay, but not in Indonesia in the short run. Yeah. But the structure of Indonesia's labor and the structures, and the reason why, because the structure of Indonesia's labor market is relatively different than in US. There's no social safety net for the unemployed. However, the YOLO mindset is already here. Okay, it's already apparent. So companies must be aware that the rethinking of the office in the era of YOLO economy must be conceived on different approaches and basis. Okay, so I think that would be all from me. Thank you for your attention.
Oke. Balik lagi bareng kita ya. Thank you so much, Alvin. Tadi
Yeah.
jelasin tentang YOLO Economy ya. That's very insightful in my opinion ya.
Yeah. Very,
Uh,
very interesting topic
hmm,
also.
hmm, hmm.
I really like, I don't know. I also really like the way that you brought the topic. It was very intriguing. And I really like that you elaborated throughout the whole presentation. I feel like we were able to really get a lot of good insights. Right, Cody? What do you
Yes, that's very true. In my opinion, like
Mhm.
this YOLO economy itu kayak memang terimplementasikan tuh dengan orang-orang yang zaman sekarang gitu, yang orang-orang yang Gen Z, umur-umur yang lebih
Yeah, Gen Z and
muda bisa
millennials.
dibilang. Because they
Yeah.
have a mindset yang kayak, oh I want to be entrepreneur, I want to do more things yang lebih meaningful for them, taking a risk to be entrepreneur, professional satisfaction lah bisa dibilang gitu ya.
Yeah. I think,
Oke.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
Cool. Okay.
Nah, jadi biar bisa makin paham lagi nih, Pak Alvin, because there people at home, orang-orang yang di YouTube nih pasti masih bingung nih tentang YOLO Economy ini. Nah, makanya kita akan buka sesi Q&A. Jadi teman-teman yang lagi nonton di YouTube, everyone is watching at home from YouTube, boleh banget kirim pertanyaan-pertanyaan kalian di kolom komentar dan nanti akan dijawab oleh Pak Alvinnya langsung.
Yes, you're free to ask with any language that you feel like, and we will most definitely assist you upon bringing your question to Palvin himself. All right. Okay, so maybe while waiting for questions from YouTube, maybe I have a few questions on my own, if that's possible. What do you think? Okay, so you did talk a lot about how YOLO economy most definitely exists and the Great Resignation exists in the United States. But I was very intrigued about your perspective about it potentially occurring, or rather lack thereof, in Indonesia, right? So I was wondering if you can elaborate more on why this is exactly the case, because we do understand that there is a big difference, right, between Indonesia's workforce and the United States workforce, right? But is there like a specific factor, or maybe a specific index, or just some form of a specific reasoning that concludes the fact that, at least in the short run, as you mentioned, that the rate that this sort of mindset of YOLO economy and also Great Resignation will not occur in Indonesia in the short run? Like, for example, is it because Indonesia is still a developing nation with a lower HDI, or does it have to do with something else? Would you like to elaborate with that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dafa. Good question. Yeah, so I already addressed this, but I think it's not as deep as it should. So as I said earlier, the trend shows, data shows that yes, the YOLO mindset is already here or already apparent. But why Great Resignation is not happening? I think the main cause of that is the social safety net or social security for the unemployed. Yeah, because in the US, when you quit your job, you get the unemployed benefits. So you still have, base income. Yeah, you still have a base income for you to survive while you're doing things that you like, or at least you try a new venture. Especially in the United States, and when you quit your job and you try and start your own venture, it's a really risky situation, right? Because you have no income, yeah, and you start a new venture which requires a certain amount of capital. See, so it dissipates your savings, right? So unemployment benefits help them to carry on during that risky period, yeah, during that vulnerable period. Unlike in Indonesia, where we don't have that unemployment unemployment benefits, right? We have what? We don't have that kind of mechanism yet. Yeah. So social security to create that serves as a social safety net for these unemployed. Yeah. So that's I think one of the main reasons why these millennials, Gen Z, are reluctant to quit their jobs, even though they may not like it, and even though they may think that it's not fulfilling. Yeah, but at least for now. However, the mindset is already here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I would love to elaborate further with this question, but I feel like it's not fair to the people on YouTube. So yeah, thank you very much for answering my curiosity. And yeah, I think that reasoning does make a lot of sense. And hey, speaking of which, I think it's best for us to go to the questions on YouTube. Maybe
Yes.
okay. I already read my question out. Cody, would you like to read the next question out?
Okay, so the next question is from Mashita Abelina. Do you think that this phenomena is something that requires government intervention? What do you think the government can do to help companies resolve this issue?
Right. Thank you, Mashita. Interesting. Government intervention. I haven't really thought about that because um, maybe the enforcement for employers, yeah, to create a certain environment that fits with these millennials, that these workers with YOLO mindset. But it's more about the behavior ones. So it's not up to government for now. I think it's really up to companies, and especially when millennials or these YOLO workers, when they feel C-suite, C levels, yeah, as a CEO, they will begin to reshape, yeah, reshape the way companies are doing things. Yeah. So as millennials, other millennials who are still in companies, they rank up to the C level, for example, yeah, when they can make certain adjustment as they see fit, then I think that will be um, I think that will be feasible for this YOLO workers, YOLO workers. I mean, yeah, workers with YOLO
Yeah.
mindset to come back again to working with the employers. Yeah, but it's going to be hard if these employers are still led by leaders who whose mindset are rather archaic, right? So it's going to be tough. So that's why the challenge is it's really up to the companies. For the government, I haven't really thought about it. A good policy that could support this, because if we look up to the perhaps minimum wages or other social security like unemployment benefits, it's actually encouraged them to quit. Yeah. So I think if we want to when we want to cut this voluntarily quit in the short run, perhaps government can cut the or reduce the unemployment benefits. So it's to reduce the incentive for workers to quit. But it doesn't solve the workers' burnout. It doesn't solve workers' burnout. It's only mitigate the voluntary quit among U.S. workers. Just like in Indonesia right now, we don't have this social safety net for the unemployed. Thus, we don't have this great resignation right now. Workers are reluctant to quit in Indonesia. Yeah. What if my venture fails? Yeah. There's no source of income. Yeah. Yeah. I think that will be
Okay.
all. Thank you,
Okay,
Mashita.
thank you so much, Falcon, for the answer. I really do agree, yeah, about this because, like,
Yeah.
not everything. I think not everything needs to be required government intervention, including this.
Yeah.
Okay, Dafa, maybe you can read the next question.
Yeah, sure thing. I think we have the next question right from YouTube. We actually have a lot of questions from YouTube, so we'll try to get it. We'll try to get all of you guys' questions as quick as possible. Here we go. So next up, we have one from Gerald Henrica with the question of the pandemic has prevented contact with others, and more jobs are shifted towards an online environment. Now, is the high rate of quitting due to the pandemic, and if so, will the rate decrease once the pandemic has ended? Interesting question.
Thank you, Gerald, for the question. I think I already explained about this. If you look at the trend, so the Great Resignation is not an early trend; it's actually ongoing. So the number of workers voluntarily quit their jobs increasing over time have been steady. Instead, however, during pandemic, the number of voluntary voluntary quits, it's actually dissipated because of the uncertainty during pandemic. But after the uncertainty is waning off, then the number of involuntary quits shot up. Yeah. So the pandemic is not the main reason, but actually it's exacerbating the Great Resignation. It's exacerbating because
Yeah.
companies forced to work from home, right? So see, millennials now get the taste of it, right? They got the taste of working hybrid, and it encouraged them to quit, encourage them more to quit. So it's not the main reason, but it's the factors that exacerbating the these involuntary quit.
Yeah, I think I remember the graph that you showed where like there's a big dip in the year, I think 2020, and then in 2021 it skyrocketed, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I do remember that, and it just went above, and it did go above the predicted threshold for the 2021 year. So yeah, and I do think that's a very interesting factor to repeat again. So yeah, thank you very much for the question there, Daryl. Okay, switch it up, Cody. Would you like to ask the next question?
Okay, so the next question is from Stefanus Rinaldi. His question is YOLO economy becoming more prevalent due to advances in technology? Would there be a huge difference if our country is in 1.0 compared to if we are at 4.0?
Interesting.
I would say yes. Yeah. So these advancements in technology allows us to work remotely, to work, flexible, become more flexible to, you know, accomplish things. So yeah, yes, I would say yes. It's technological advancements is one of the reasons why YOLO economy becoming more prevalent.
Okay, thank you for the answer,
About the
Alvin.
huge
Yeah.
difference, about the huge difference, I don't have the data for that, but I think I would say also there will be huge difference. I would say yes. Yeah. It would be hard for country that's currently adopting 1.0, still in 1.0 industry, and they have to do remote working where internet connection is not really good in that country, which is it's essential, right? One of the factors that's essential to support remote working or hybrid working. Yeah, but I would say yes.
Okay, thank you, Palvin. Yeah, I do agree because I'm currently experiencing this. Currently, me and my friend we are in working magang. My friend is he every day went to the office, but me I got hybrid. I can work from home and I can work from office too if I
Oh,
want to,
perfect, right?
and yeah, and because of that I feel like I can take other chances, I can take
Exactly.
other job, or if it's me I can take it. So but he cannot because he needs to work from there. He
Eight to
takes a
five.
lot of time. Yeah, 8 to 5
Yeah.
he works a lot of time there. He needs to commute to home. There's so much time wasted from there. So yeah.
Yeah, especially in Indonesia, where like for example, the traffic in Jakarta
Yeah.
is
Commuting,
let's just
right?
say nowhere near the best. Yeah, and like I feel like if you were to have like a hybrid environment, you'd have a lot more time, for example, spend with your friends, family, or maybe exploring other opportunities. So I think
Yeah,
technology is definitely a huge factor, but I don't
exactly.
think it's the only major factor, right? I think
True.
each nation is unique to its own, and I feel like that's a very big thing that you also mentioned about, right? Why it exists very heavily in the States, but in Indonesia, even though they have the mindset, there's still some differences. I believe that there are a lot of different factors that comes to play, and technology is definitely a huge part. Because if Indonesia, for example, if we barely have any internet connection, then
Yeah.
there's no way we'd be able to
No
have
way.
any sort of
No way.
remote working, right?
Exactly.
And things of
Exactly.
that sort. So yeah, it most definitely does make sense. Okay. Thank you very much, Balvin, for answering that question. And I do believe that does mark up the Q&A session, right, Cody?
Yes, for everyone that is still curious, I'm very sorry. We are very sorry because it's already time for the Q&A session. So,
Yeah.
What's next after this, Dafa?
Okay, so well, before we get into any of that, first of all, we'd like to say once again, thank you very much to Alvin for your time and for providing us with this wonderful webinar and answering all of our curious fellows on YouTube, right? Definitely helped us understand a lot more about, well, the main topic of CUBE, right, which is YOLO economy. Now, I feel like all of us here actually understands what the definition is and why it's extremely relevant in today's professional force, right? Okay, so before we get into the next part, first of all, we like to commemorate this moment, and I guess we can say as a sign of thank you to Alvin, we would also like to move on to a quick photo session in order
Right.
to commemorate this moment. Okay. Okay. So, what pose would you like to do, Alvin? Do you have any poses you want to do? It's just something like this. This.
Thumbs up for bapak-bapak.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We can do that.
Okay, thumbs up for bapak-bapak.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Operator, we'd like to assist your help. Okay. Cody, you want to count it down or?
Okay, I'll count down. So,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, thank you, Palvin.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
your
Thank you so much
time.
for
Yeah, thank
inviting me
you.
here. Thank you so much. It's an
Yes,
honor.
it's our honor. It's our honor. We very much enjoyed your presentation
Yeah.
as well, and thank you for providing us with all the information that you prepared for us.
Best of luck
Okay,
also
and
for
now,
everyone.
yes, thank you very much. And yeah, once again, best of luck to everyone here participating in competition. So yes, you may leave the session if you do, please, and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your weekend, sir.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
All right, thank you. Bye bye. Wow, how is
Oke.
that, Cody?
Oh my God, berat ya.
Wah.
Aku tuh susah gitu mengertinya. Aku ngertinya matematika bukan ekonomi ya. Jadi kadang tuh kayak, wah ini kok grafnya begini, goyang-goyang gitu kan. Jadi lumayan, wah pusing dah. Cuman in my opinion it's
Yeah.
very insightful ya. Kayak
Mhm.
bener-bener ngerti gitu. Jadinya kayak emang orang-orang zaman
Banget
sekarang
sih.
tuh lebih kayak berani buat kayak ya udah resign gitu. I mean di Indonesia mungkin
Yeah.
belum itu ya. Cuman di luar
Yeah.
negeri memang banyak yang lebih kayak, oh gue pengen kerja yang lain, pengen resign udah gitu. So
Yeah.
ya
Mhm.
bener banget sih Dav.
Yeah. Hopefully, you guys were able to learn a lot from him. We definitely did learn a lot. To the point where we kept on like chatting each other. Okay, what do you berat juga ya? As much as I'm like almost used to listening to him because he was my faculty member, right? But it's always very interesting to hear from him, and hopefully, you guys will be able to maybe take in this information. And speaking of which, in order to take in this information, I think it's fair to give them maybe a quick toilet break. Maybe our participants need, some time to maybe process everything, or maybe you guys need to go to the toilet, or maybe get something to drink. What do you think, Cody?
Yes, that's true. We need to, when we get a lot of information, we need to take time, we need to get some rest. So, we're going to have some toilet break until 14:30. Jadi, kita bakal ada
Okay.
toilet break sampai jam 2.30. Nanti kita bakal akan lanjutkan ke webinar kedua.
Correct. Yes. So once again, that's until 14:30 or 2:30 p.m. And until then, we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Everyone, see you in a bit.
Okay, hai semuanya, welcome back to Cube 2022.
Welcome back, everyone, to our day one webinar of Cube 2022. Hope everyone had a good toilet break, got something to drink and some, just hopefully you guys are more prepared to enjoy the rest of our webinar. Ya kan, Kok?
Yap, benar banget tuh. Yang penting kalian tuh pastinya udah makan, udah kenyang, udah bisa fokus lagi nih.
Yes.
So, what are we going to do after this?
So, yes, I did read my cue card, okay. Of course, we're going to enter the second webinar for today, which is a continuation of our very first material. So, as Rusi mentioned in the beginning, this part of the webinar will be about the 3 R's of the perfect life. Ooh, kind of interesting, right? Like, you guys might ask, okay, what are the 3 R's, right? And what makes it the perfect life? So, we'll answer all of that over here in our second webinar with a very cool speaker. Dan ku jamin ya guys, speaker ini juga gak kalah keren dari Pak Alvin. Ya kan, Kot? What do you think?
Yap, benar banget tuh. Next speaker kita itu datang dari our case contributor, yaitu KPMG. So our next speaker has years of experience in consulting. Currently, he is working as Director Management Consulting at KPMG Indonesia. Banyak nih pasti anak-anak Bisakon atau anak-anak yang nonton YouTube ini kayak, aduh, KPMG, my dream, it's my dream, Mas, my dream. Keren banget gak tuh?
Yeah, a lot of people's dreams, a very big company, one of the big fours in consulting, if you guys are aware of that. Keren banget sih. Ku jamin ini, this will be a very cool webinar. So, you know what? I'm very sure all of you are excited and very happy to be back here again. So, why don't we just invite him right onto the stage? So, without further ado, please welcome Mr. Angel Blanco.
Selamat siang semuanya. How are you? How is everyone? Thank you for inviting me to this session, and I'm very pleased to join you today, and hopefully we can have a short but sweet session. So thank you guys.
Wonderful. Selamat siang, Pak. First of all, maybe before we start the event, first of all, just want to say thank you very much for being here with us and spending your time of your day in order to inform all of us exactly about what you're going to present, right? But before we start, maybe we'd like to ask a quick question first. What should we call you? Because we can see the name. You do want us to call you Om Angel atau gimana?
Ya boleh, Om Angel, it's okay.
Okay, cool.
Lama nggak ada ini presentation for young people, so I'm not so used. So I try to make it fun, but we'll see. At least we start with a fun name.
Isalah, of course you can. I'm very sure.
Okay, cool. Then without further ado, I think it's already time. The space is yours, Om Angel, to present.
Okay. All right, everyone. So thank you for inviting me to this session. As I have said, not very much used to speak for young audiences anymore, but I think it's always good for me to go back to sharing some of the experiences that I have gained in my professional life. We could have made this work-life balance. We could have made this many other topics. I think at least I have the opportunity to share a few things about my experience. So I think with regards to the 3 R's of the perfect life, I didn't want to make it very boring or very theoretical. So what I have done is to put together a couple of what I call personal reflections, which I hope that even if nothing else will allow you to maybe visualize what are the things that may be important for you in your career when you finish university, basically from my experience as a consultant, which is what I have been doing all of my life, much of it here in Indonesia. So maybe we can move to my first slide, which is kind of an introduction of who I am. And I think that will help everyone to maybe picture me in the proper light, and also begin to present how do I approach a balanced life? What are the important things in life for me? And maybe what I can share about what I've done with you. So basically, by means of 3 pictures, which introduce 3 of the things that are very much more important for me. One of them, of course, is my family. I have been married to Indonesia for who knows how long. I think it's about 25 years now. And I have 2 kids that are now in university. So in a way, I handle them in the best way possible. And I'm trying to get used to things like YOLO and stuff like that. So yeah. So I have been in Jakarta for a very long time. I love to work and help Indonesian businesses and the Indonesian community. So when you talk about balanced life, if you think of something you like to do, there's no pain, there's no harm in doing that. So as long as you have a few priorities in life that are important to you, I think that's really what matters in balancing your life. Although I'm already on Angel and very senior, I guess, within KPMG, one of the things that I still like to do very much is to get involved in projects. So rather than just talking to the big CEOs and big management members out there, I do spend a lot of time with the team, like you can see in one of the pictures right there. So I actually, you think that that's work. For me, that's not work. For me, that's fun. That's really a very nice evening session, talking, discussing, thinking about how to help clients. And again, it depends on how do you approach this. It may be 1 hour, which is your responsibility, or it may be another hour, which may be relaxing, which I will introduce later. So I think it's already quite relative. And finally, something that I very much like to do as well is to really try to add value to our clients and customers, to continue to help the senior teams of the Indonesian companies to really learn, transform, and to the extent that I'm able to enable them in their transformation. So, I mean, if you think of your priorities in life, how do you balance your professional and personal life? I think one of the things that are important is to be clear of what are the priorities in your life, which is something that I will speak of a bit more in the next slide. So yeah, I think that's a bit about me. You can ask me other questions you want later, because I don't think that my presentation will take too long. All right, so trying to follow some form of a script about work-life balance. The first thing that I notice in the script and in the way that people deal with this is, okay, how much time do I have to dedicate to work? How much time do I have to dedicate to my personal life? How much do I dedicate to others? So I think the first thing that I want to share with you, from my perspective, remember, there is no right or wrong answer. This is all about what's important to you, is what are your priorities. So I think the work-life balance is about spending time according to your life priorities. Of course, you have to focus or try to do what you love to do everywhere in life, whether it is when you are working, studying, etc. So when you might have heard this before, but when you do work that you have passion for, then there's no harm to do that. You may think that you have to spend 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. Really, it doesn't matter if you find something that you like. Unfortunately, that's not something that a lot of people get to do in life. If you are one of those fortunate people that do have a clear vision of what they want to do, what they enjoy, then my advice is really go for it. It doesn't matter whether you fail, whether you spend 10 hours, 8 hours, 15 hours. First of all, you will enjoy the time that you pass doing that, whether you are successful or not. And you will not have any regrets in future, if I can just put something about long-term perspective. Again, balancing your life is not about what is the allocation of time today at this very moment. I think you have to need to know what's your long-term perspective and what are your long-term goals. So say you need money and you think that one of the goals in your life is to really make a lot of money. So please, if you have to work 20 hours a day to achieve that goal, I would still call that a balanced life. Why not? Balanced life is balance in the spur of the moment, but balance over your lifetime of work and experience. So if you are investing some of your time now to get some returns later, then I would still say that's proper balance. That's something that I think I would still call that balance. Now, you have to be very clear about what your long-term priorities are. Because, I am already at the other end of the line, and I'm happy with what I have achieved, and I am happy with my balanced life. But I know a couple of people that after working for money for 20 years and they have actually achieved that, then they realize that, yes, that's a good outcome, but maybe that's not what the whole thing and the whole life was about. So again, just think of what are your priorities now and in long term, and try to allocate your time according to that. Be very clear what are the things that make you happy. Be very clear what makes people happy for those people that care for you. And think of that when you spend your time today and in the future. So basically, from an old Angel, one of the first things I want to say is don't think of it based on the money that you spend, based on the priorities that you have, and those priorities, what they are today and what they are today in the future. So yeah, that's kind of the first message that I would like to give to you to make you think. Because I think that from my perspective, one of the advantages that I had against every one of you is that I have lived a long life already, and I know what more or less are the things that you're going to be thinking in the future. And I'm trying to maybe open your eyes for you to some of those things. Ya, udah maju aja sekarang. Next one. So basically, stick to a plan. Make sure what your priorities are. Change your priorities and you'll change your life. Make sure that you understand what you want to do in life. Make sure that you allocate your time based on what is going to serve to get to your goals. Stick to it. I mean, stick to evenness is a word that I think is very useful. And since it's quite peculiar, I want to maybe bring it up to you so you can think of it that way. You will have up and downs. You will have many situations in your life, but resilience or stick to evenness is something that will help you. It has helped me to give some form of goalpost in my life to really achieve a balanced life. And definitely something that I was very clear from the very start, and I think that you will always benefit in the same way that in some ways you can benefit from a session today from someone who has experience. I think in your own circles, in university, friends, family, don't be afraid of asking for advice. I think having mentors will help you in many, many things. What career you want to do, what kind of job you want to do, what kind of personal decisions you need to make. But likewise, in terms of balancing your life and really focus on the things that are important to you and that will add value to your life and to companies that you work for, I think that that's important. And I think we all know, we're all aware of this. Sometimes we don't want to bother senior people. Well, some of them, they don't care much. Some of them, they may not want to help you. But I think don't be afraid to ask. I'm sure that there's always people out there that are willing to listen to you and give you the right advice. So don't forget about long-term balance. And I'm happy to say that, like, you guys are young, so I don't want to minimize the efforts and sacrifices that you have to do in your work and in your life. And sometimes in the short term, you may think that it's not properly balanced, but as you have a long-term objective, and if spending long hours studying or long hours working, it is something that is helping you and benefiting you in the long term, well, bear with it, because if you are clear with that, you will have your long-term results. So yeah, that's kind of another point I would like to share with you. Next. Okay, so I mean, if I was asked to paint a perspective or some thoughts about how do I judge, how do I determine to what extent I'm leading a balanced life, I think we all have our own signs to kind of check whether or not we're living a balanced life. And if I can just say a few of them, I suppose that all those things would have happened to you, or would have been something that you have thought through or you have experienced. But basically, just to illustrate a few, basically, and particularly in the times of pandemic events where we are mostly at home, but at the same time we have meetings after meetings, and we may feel that we don't even have time for lunch. So if you see yourself that you're skipping lunch, and you're not really making time for lunch, or for any other basic stuff in your life, like having a proper toilet break, like I thought that you had just one before I joined, well, that's not a good sign. So basically, I think everyone respects the basic periods that people would have for the basic necessities. So if you find yourself skipping many of those, then I think that's definitely not a good sign. About having meetings, I don't think that having more or less meetings is a sign of having a balanced life or not. But definitely, if you see yourself rescheduling your meetings, if you see yourself canceling meetings and then having to join meetings last minute, in my perspective, that also is not a sign of a very balanced life, because maybe once you're really being carried away by things, by events that happen to you without really having some firm direction, what is your agenda for a week, etc. And I think maybe you lack a bit of organization. And if you lack a bit of organization, I think that is a sign that you're not having a balanced life. Think of what you do when you are not working, and whether you are just enjoying your life, doing something useful, or just simply trying to complain or frustrate yourself with things that have happened that maybe cannot be changed anymore. So, I mean, if you're having this toilet break, I mean, today is a Saturday, so I don't think nobody would be very much stressed. But if you're having a toilet break during the workday and all you do is vent or frustrate or complain instead of really doing something that really helps you, then maybe that's not a good sign. And I think the most important telltale of them all, which I suspect as young people, you may not experience so much, but as you grow older, I think when you have additional responsibilities in life, family, work, and it's not just about you, but it's also about other people that depend on you. If you're really not sleeping well, that is the worst thing. So if you ever find, not now, maybe in the future, not sleeping well, definitely you need to do something about that. So I guess that's kind of some of the examples that I thought of. I mean, I wouldn't want to say it happens to me. I suppose that at some point, some of these things have happened to everyone and have happened to me. But I think I'm very clear that this is a set of examples that I don't think they look very good when you're trying to determine whether or not you are leading a balanced life. I think, yeah, bisa maju. Okay, I think this is kind of from a more practical standpoint, based on the nature of this session. And if I want to maybe teach you something that you can carry and take home as practical, other than just listening to the Angel stories, is this. So when I was giving the initial script of the 3 R's of a good work-life balance, I was given these 3 points: responsibility, relaxing, and resting. And they were described as spending time doing your job, spend your time relaxing, and spend your time resting. But my immediate reaction to that is, and they say whether you should spend 7 hours or 8 hours or whatever number of hours doing each one of these 3 things, which in line of the point that I make at the beginning, it's not really about the time you spend doing these things. It's more about whether you are doing something according to each one of those 3 R's. But basically, these 3 R's are quite passive. I think that they don't sound as something that really you can visualize as what the outcome of your actions, and relaxing for what? What's the value of relaxing? And are you really getting anything benefit personally from relaxing? So in the spirit of keeping the 3 R's, that's what I actually put a bit more thought on it. Is, from my perspective, you have to think of not responsibility but results, not relaxing but reshaping, and not resting but recharging. And I think maybe if I can elaborate a bit more on each one of these three things, I suppose they're really straightforward, but I can tell you, for me, it doesn't matter whether you spend 8 hours, 18 hours, or 8 minutes, depending on what your job is. All I care for is really for the results that you provide. And I think that is kind of what you have to think of. The same way that some people need 4 hours to prepare for an exam, some people need 2 hours, and some people are smart enough not to have to prepare for the exam. That's life, right? So just think of what results are expected from you. But truly be aware of what results are expected from you. Because, the easy way out of this is like, I only spent 10 minutes instead of 6 hours because I already completed my part. But think of it whether you have really completed your part with the right results expected from you. So, that's the main point. Relaxing, again, going back to what your priorities are in life. If you spend 8 hours playing video games, maybe some people do have that kind of passion and they really make the most of spending 8 hours playing games. But for me, it's more about reshaping. So if you really think of what are the things that you like to do in life, then just focus on doing that. And again, I'm not going to tell you whether they should be 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, but make sure that you do something that is meaningful for you, because that is going to keep you balanced a lot more than just simply relaxing. And finally, resting. Like I said, if you spend 8 hours in bed, but you don't get a full night of sleep, I don't think that's really worthwhile spending your time. And you may think that, I slept 8 hours. Why do I feel so tired? So make sure that the time you spend to rest is really useful. So again, if in 10 years' time you are a manager at KPMG in Indonesia, I won't be there because I will be retired by then. But if you are able to maybe think of it that way and manage your professional life according to maybe results, reshaping, and recharging, and you can remember me from what I shared with you today, I think I'd be happy. And again, this is my perspective. You may have your own conclusions of what you're listening from me today, but I hope that at least you find this useful and interesting. Okay, so basically, your daily time allocation is really up to you. So if you want to think that there is a rule on how, if it's not 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, should it be 8, 12, and 4, or it should be 7, 7, and 10? Again, I don't think that that's even the right question. So yeah, there's no magic formula for it. I think that's kind of what I have to say to this. And if we move to the next slide. So basically, at the end of the day, it's about making your life a worthwhile journey according to some priorities. But let me tell you, I think the big question here and the big challenge is, but I still don't know what my long-term plans are, my long-term goals are. I mean, for most people, including my kids, long-term is not lunch, but dinner. So how do I know whether or not spending 18 hours studying or 18 hours working, yeah, clearly is not balanced in the short term. I acknowledge that, and I think nobody would argue against that. But whether or not that's helping you in your life, in your long-term career, in securing a better future for you, or at least a better balanced life in the future. Well, what I have always done in my life is don't use your brain, use your gut. And I think that your gut will tell you whether you are spending your time in the right way or not. So Einstein said that, and Yoda said that. So what else you want? It's not even me who's doing that or saying that. So basically, I think that is pretty much what I had to say to that. I don't have a long presentation. I just have a few thoughts that I would like to share with you from someone who has been working and living in Indonesia for quite some time. Some of these things may seem evident to you. Some of these things may be useful to you. So I think we do have one more slide, which is something that I prepared for fun recently at a KPMG event, which is in a way how you should not balance your life. And I hope that you find this entertaining. It's just 2 minutes. And I think after that, yeah, I'd be happy to answer or describe any questions that you might have for me or whatever the MCs would like to follow up with. So if you can just maybe share the videos I sent you, it'd be good. Okay, I think there was a bit of machete here and there, but I think you may get the point that that's kind of a love story between me and my laptop, which is kind of an exaggeration of how not to carry a balanced COVID work from home life. But at the same time, yeah, I thought that it was a good thing to really end this presentation in some form of comedic style. So, ya, itu dari saya. Mungkin ini baru 30 menit, but I already said I only have a few things to share. I probably have a lot of stories to share, and if you have any specific question, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, maybe I'll just can hand it over back to the MCs.
Oke, hai Om Angel.
Ya, apa kabar Mas Prodi? Tadi saya mau sebut namanya tapi udah hilang namanya.
Iya nih Om.
Iya.
Oke. Lumayan interesting nih. Tadi videonya ini ya Om. Kenapa bisa kayak from morning to midnight to the morning again? You're always with your laptop. Well, how is that? Is it every day
Yeah, no,
from Monday to Sunday?
I think, believe it or not, if you do not set some of the priorities straight, and if you do not make people know that like from 12 to 1 you are certainly not available because you're having your lunch, and there's no reason why your lunchtime should not be 1 hour in the same way it was before, you will end up doing that. You will end up doing your job as you're eating. And of course, it's all a bit of an exaggeration, but if you're not careful, you may end up like that. Again, as a student, you may not feel that kind of pressure and responsibility, but like in the life of a professional worker, I think you may risk doing that. So there may be a couple of, I mean, it's not like that for me every day, and I think istri saya tercinta memang masih ada di sebelah, bukan laptop. But you may end up like looking at it that way. So maybe you think about it. It may be something that helps you put things in perspective.
I think I really like the way you put that, like a professional worker with their laptop is sort of like the modern day love story. I think that's like a really good way of putting it, especially in like the pandemic, where it's like kita kan kerja, or like we do university or school at home, and we're just in front of our laptops all the time. And you're right. I think a lot of the times we sort of lose track of what we should do, what we want to do, what we must do. And I think that aligns especially well within the past couple of years because of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that can be a segue to one of the questions that I want to ask. I mean, this is more of just like a casual conversation, right?
Of course. I mean, I thought my video was quite casual to start with. So.
Yeah. But I really like it because like it's a very good contrast from like our first webinar, which was very intense. I think this is a really good. I think this is also very informative, but in a much more relaxing way, right? But anyways, my question is, what big adjustments did you have to make to, for example, your goals and your daily life and workings when the pandemic hit? Because obviously you're at a different position than us, right? We only have to worry about university. You have to worry about your work and your family and so on and so forth, right?
Okay, I will tell you the first thing that came to my mind to your question. And I think maybe it's not answering it, but it's really what came to my mind.
Okay.
When I started working from home, and given that I have a certain amount of responsibility, I thought, how can I manage the business from home? And then I remember the mafia movies from the 1970s, when the Godfather is managing all the mafia, all
the henchmen,
things considered, yeah. And they were doing that from a little Italy restaurant in New York while they were eating spaghetti. And that is in the 70s when there was no internet or there was nothing, and yet they managed to run the business from the little restaurant, and they were always there. So the first thing that I thought is like, oh, now I can see that it's not that complicated, it's not that difficult. In fact, for someone like me who lives quite far from Sudirman, is not even a bad thing because I save a lot of time traveling. So basically, the main adjustments are not so much about the professional aspect of the life. It's more about the personal one with regards to having the family at home, and like they're really around all the time, and have to get used to that. Of course, I'm sure that you must have heard about whether the personal touch and the culture of working at KPMG and meeting each other It's something that you lose. I won't speak to that. I suppose that's kind of a common topic already discussed. I personally didn't find difficult to adjust to working from home, and I mean the proof is that a number of people, however they complain about working from home, they're still very much happy in this way, because if you think about it, when you balance the pros and cons of working from home, there are a lot of benefits, but of course you need to set your priorities straight so your life at home doesn't become your whole professional life. So I think that's kind of my first reaction to your question.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, actually. As a matter of fact, that correlates very well with what we talked about in the first webinar, because in the first webinar, we actually talked about how the Great Resignation is happening and people are looking at different, because of the pandemic, right? As you previously mentioned, you might have been able to see that, like, because you work at home, you're able to spend more time with your family and there's other opportunities that you can explore, right? And I think that's like a very big point that I think a lot of professionals haven't seen until the pandemic, right? And did you feel it that way? Like you had more opportunities to explore and you're happier that you spend more time with your family? That's how you feel, right?
Yes and no. I suppose that this concept of exploring, I don't quite get what you mean. I guess like if you're young and you're looking to do other things while you're at home, then yes. I mean, for me, I find, I mean, I work very hard, so I guess I fall into the trap that, I still spend a lot of hours working from home, and I don't really do much else other than maybe hanging out with my kids from now and then. But yeah, I mean, I could do this. I could go back to work and work from office. I mean, you really need to be flexible and you need to be adaptable. And I think for someone like me who in 1997 didn't know that Jakarta was a real place,
Really?
that thought that Bali was a country on its own, because that's all I knew.
Yeah, many people think like
it's
that.
it's kind of a shock. So I mean, for someone like me to have been here, you must probably imagine that you have a certain amount of flexibility and adaptability. That's why I am still here. So I mean, for me, that I think that's quite important. I don't think that's kind of the topic of how you balance your life. It's more about adapting to your environment and make the most of what life gives you. But yeah, I think that's kind of my reaction.
Oh, cool.
True. But yeah, I think in my opinion, adapting to your environment is one of the most important things to have a work-life balance, isn't it? Oh my hell.
Yes, I suppose, but you must adapt in your own terms, right? So if you don't like your new environment, you don't have to adapt to it. If I wasn't happy working at home, if I wasn't happy with staying in Indonesia, if I wasn't happy with the kind of work that I do, I would have two options. At least for someone like me, I have the advantage that I could either adapt or I can just reject and do something else. And that is, I think, relating to one of the principles that I have mentioned, is just act with your gut. So I can tell you, like, we are doing this. So my daughter, she's going to university now. My son is already in university. My daughter is going to university. And we have spent days considering what is the best university for her, given the reputation, given the quality, given the expenses. It's all for nothing, tell you. You wake up in the morning, you ask, what does your gut tell you? That's whatever university she mentions. And I kind of happen to agree with that. So, I mean, the decision, inside of you what's the best decision to do. And I think that in balancing life, I think that's also a principle that you should follow.
Yeah, I think in real life, rationalization, like making sense of everything, sometimes it doesn't apply, because sometimes you just want to follow your gut, right? Sometimes just that feeling inside of you, that's what dictates what you should do, right? And
Absolutely.
and speaking of that, I do have a question. How did you feel when you had to first move to Indonesia, or maybe Southeast Asia, back in the 90s, back in 1997? Was that what your gut told you, or was it just something that you had to do? How did you feel back then?
I don't think it had much to do with that, but I just happened to come to Jakarta in '96 to attend my buddy's wedding. We were MBA buddies. We were
Oh.
studying together in the Netherlands, and I was supposed to come over to attend his wedding over a 6 days period. But someone put a jamu in my drink to maybe jatuh cinta sama orang Indonesia. So, like, I went back to Jakarta to Spain, and after 6 months, I was already living in Indonesia. So, I guess
Wow.
I kind of
That's a
had no
good
choice.
story.
So,
That is a great story.
Yeah, that's very interesting because the jam will make you fall in love with a. Oh,
I mean, it wasn't
Someone-
that, I'm sure, but I kind of
Yeah.
like to make that joke because I also find it very unusual because I didn't think that something like that could happen to me, but yeah, it did happen.
Yeah.
But I
Like
also
life. Yeah.
to make that experience a bit more relevant to the session today. I at that point it was shortly before the riots of May '98. And I lived through that, and I also lived through how the Indonesian student body was very much respected, very much relevant, and very much champions of changing Indonesia. So along with that, when Gabi asked me to help and participate in this session, I immediately said so because I mean, like I said, my passport may show Spanish citizenship, but my heart already Indonesia. So I would like to help as much as possible.
oh my
Wonderful.
God, we love you so much, Abang.
Yeah, terima kasih, terima kasih.
Okay, so I think we are moving on to the Q&A session, Om Angel. So maybe
Yeah.
people at home are interested about you or about these 3RS, about what is more about that. So if they are interested,
Yes.
they can ask away. So untuk orang teman-teman yang di rumah dan teman-teman yang lagi di rumah nonton lewat YouTube bisa banget untuk melemparkan pertanyaannya melalui YouTube comment chat dan nanti
Ya.
juga kami dari MC.
Bahasa Indonesia aja nggak apa-apa.
Oh ya,
Oh, pakai bahasa
boleh.
Indonesia pun juga nggak
Bahasa
apa-apa,
Inggris juga
guys.
boleh, tapi kayaknya
Ya,
Om Angel
ya,
juga mau
terserah.
bahasa Indonesia nih. Oke,
Iya.
deh,
Bebas
kalau
kok.
gitu.
Yeah.
Bahasa
So this
Jawa
is
juga
a much.
bisa.
Bahasa Jawa juga bisa, Om Angel.
Bahasa Jawa bisa.
Keren.
Keren.
Monggo, monggo.
Oke. Operator boleh dinaikin pertanyaan pertama?
Boleh ya. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Dava, maybe you can read it.
Boleh. Okay, so we have our first question here from Natasha Angel. So, question to you is, why did you choose consulting as your line of work, considering it is notorious for its hectic schedule? Oh, this is really good. Yeah.
Well, on this, I am going to give you the straight standard answer. I don't have any specific insightful answer to this. So for a couple of reasons. First, because I could not figure out what I wanted to do. That's, I guess, the first answer. So in the same way, I did not know what I wanted to do in university, and I waited until the last hour of the last day to select my university topic. It is the same. I really didn't know what to do, but I did know one thing. I like to solve problems. I like to help people solve problems. And I thought consulting was a good way to do that. And definitely, not for a moment. See, this is kind of the thing that I think separates the old generations from the new generations. Not for a moment I thought about whether it was hectic or not. I would not know. I would not care about that. I mean, that is irrelevant. Like I said, if I like it, I will do it. If I don't like it, I will leave. So I don't think that whether it's hectic schedule or not at a young age is really something that it should drive your decision-making process. But again, I do acknowledge that long hours are long hours, that's for sure. But if it's something that you like to do, or at least is adding your learning experience, or it's something that you know you will stop doing, like, okay, I'm prepared to do this hectic schedule for 5 years, and after that I'm very clear that the time spent will be useful because I would go to work for a bank, or I would go for a multinational, and I think what I have learned in 5 years is twice what I would have learned over 10 years by working long hours. I mean, there's no downside to that. So I never really thought about it in that way.
That's a really good way of putting it. I feel like regardless of whatever schedule may be, it's like every single decision will have their own positive and negative impacts, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, though it's hectic, you're still able to learn a lot. You're going to significantly improve your decision-making process. And throughout the process, there will be many other skills that you're able to obtain. So I do think that's a really good way of seeing things, like balancing things out.
So maybe now I remember one more thing related to this, if I can say.
Yes.
So when I finished my
Go ahead.
MBA, I joined McKinsey in Spain. I did have, I mean, at the time, now I think it's more like fintech or consulting, but at the time it was either Goldman Sachs or McKinsey. And not for a moment I considered joining Goldman Sachs, because it's same long hours or more, but it's totally a waste of time.
Oh, what makes you say that?
The hours that I would have, because the work that you do, the time that you do spend when you are a junior banker in a place like Goldman Sachs, it's about preparing transaction documents. It's about making valuations that do not have much of a business rationale. It's all about comparisons. It's about, you do not actually spend a lot of time thinking about the issues. You just focus more on the financials, but it's not something that I enjoy doing. But if I actually have to spend hours learning how to help a company and how to really make a realistic assessment of the standing of a company, then I don't mind spending the hours. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people here are looking for a work in investment banking, or there are bankers in this audience, I apologize for that. I think that was just a personal consideration.
Yeah, it's a personal opinion, because once again, you do prefer a bigger learning experience, right? And for you to learn and actually obtain skills and problem solve, right? Because as you previously mentioned,
like I said, some people may choose to join investment banking because the money is something that is important to them, and they know that in the future they may have their great life, and like if that's their priority, then I respect that. And at that point, working 20 hours still balance for them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's as you previously mentioned, it's all about following your gut, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much for the question, Natasha, and also thank you very much for answering the question. Maybe we can head down to the next question, operator. Cody, would you like to have the honors of reading this one?
Okay, so the question is from Stefanos Ronaldi. Do you personally think that love and passion for the work you are doing can negate any consequences of having a very hectic job? Maybe it's a little bit same with the previous question, but it's more focused on the love and passion itself.
Okay, so what new information I can share to this question? I would perhaps just say that no matter how much love and passion you have for your job, there are bad days for sure. There are moments where you say it's not worth it, because no matter how much you love your work, if you are not being treated fair, or you are spending unnecessary hours, or you're facing unreasonable bosses or clients, or you actually spend 3 nights without sleep, then you have to figure out whether that's something like in that particular situation, or if it's just common in your life, then definitely I don't think that's something that compensates for how much you love and your passion for your job. There are many other things that you can do, and you can set up your own job to do consulting on your own, and then you set up your own schedule, and that's another kind of risk and another kind of hectic job. But I suspect that these questions, I mean, there are no perfect jobs without having hectic job, but if you have to balance everything, then like I said, my standard easy way out of every answer is do what your gut tells you.
Yeah.
Understood.
It always comes back to just follow your gut. That's it.
Yes.
Because
maybe I can have you can go for first, Cody.
Yeah, I say like maybe around 90% or 1%, your gut is always right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't regret following that. So yeah, I do have a follow-up question to this. Maybe do you have any advice to anyone that's going through these bad days? Like for example, if someone were to have to go through these moments and they're very demotivated, do you have any advice for them on how to go through it?
Well, I think definitely ask for advice. Definitely ask for help. Definitely ask someone you trust about what to do. Because like me, there are a lot of people out there that have lived through those situations before, and I cannot speak to the specific of everyone's situation, but if you're stuck in such situation, no matter how many hours you spend thinking about it, I think the only way I can just advise is either take some time off work to think or ask for advice. I think that is what I would say.
Yeah, great answer. I think having communication with others and bringing other opinions will also make more sense of your situation. So I think that's a
Yeah.
great
I think so.
answer.
Because at the end,
Okay.
we are still a human, and
Yeah.
we need other humans for everything. We cannot live
For
alone.
sure,
in
for sure.
my opinion.
That's what my history says. I should share more with her.
That's
There you
good.
go, guys.
That's very
Communication is
sweet.
key. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's okay. I prefer not to worry her with much.
Okay, maybe we can move on to the next question, Dafa.
Yeah, sure thing. Operator, here we go. So we have one from Rehan. Okay, hi Omanghel. Hello. Okay, I just started working at Deloitte in the United States, and I am thinking about continuing my career path in consulting. Now, what is the best advice that you can give to someone like me?
Oh, I mean, I think that's kind of um, general question without knowing the specifics. But um, the only thing I can say is you have to give yourself enough time to try whether you like it or not. Because, like with everything, you go through ups and downs, and maybe the first 3 months may be difficult, and then you end up loving it. Or maybe the first 3 months are good, but then you turn out thinking that it's not for you. So basically, my advice is give yourself enough time to really have a good sense of what you're doing. And once you know, then continue. And if you do like it and you end up having some difficult situations, then try it somewhere else. On the personal note, in consulting, there are always two basic approaches to do consulting, which is either you specialize very quickly on something. If you like doing operational consulting in the oil and gas sector, then you should focus on that and gain as much experience on that as possible. That may help you, or keep it at a general level, which is kind of what I like to do, because I like to learn things about many different areas. So like I have done 157 different financial services projects. If I do one more time, I will kill myself. So maybe I'll just do something else that I have never done. So at least I learned something new. But of course, if you try to keep it too general, then you may end up not learning much. So basically, to summarize 2 points: first, give yourself enough time to really think about whether you like it or not, and then act accordingly. And then think of what kind of skills you have. Like I have good skills in listening to a company's problem and approach first principles to understand what the key issues are, what the problems are, and solve them following what I learned at McKinsey, which is issue-based tree analysis. And that kind of analysis, first principles, helps everywhere and is useful whether you are doing financial services, you're doing oil and gas, you're doing retail. So if you have that kind of mind, that approach problems from first principles, then it's always good to experience as many situations as possible. If you kind of have an app for process or engineering or things like that, then if you like to do something in an industry that is very much process oriented, then you can focus on that. So maybe without knowing much about the background of Rayhan, then that's kind of like my answer to him.
Oh, great. How about when it comes to being general or specific? Do you have like you already mentioned that you have a preference to be more towards the general side of things,
Yeah,
right?
me personally, yes.
Is there like specific like positives and negatives of either specialization or just generalization
Um,
from your personal experience?
I guess based on what you like to do, right? So think of what you think you enjoy better. Because, like I said, if I do one more process reengineering project for the oil industry, then I will kill myself also because I am bored of that. I will not do it. But from a pure selfish perspective of what's gonna make you more successful, I guess the more people knows you for something, the easier it would be for you to sell yourself as an expert in that topic. So in a way, it's hard for people to know that you are a very good generalist because that's kind of a bit of a contradictory statement. But if you are very good in cybersecurity for the food and beverage industry, then when somebody has that issue, they will call you immediately. So it may be an easier way for success. But you must be prepared to focus and dedicate your consulting career in that field.
Okay, understood. I think that's a very, very good point though, because when it comes to consulting, right, in my opinion, there are many different pros and cons, and there's a lot of things to learn. But when it comes to specialization, is there like a point where like you can't really learn anything anymore, or is the knowledge limitless in consulting?
I don't think there is a limit for what you can learn about something. I mean, if you have read all the books that there are, then you have enough knowledge to develop new content and new knowledge. So I don't think that there is any point in time where you can stop learning about anything. I don't think so, no.
Okay. That's a very, very good point. Thank you very much for the question, and also thank you for the very detailed answer. And yeah, we actually have a few minutes. I think just some free time in order to discuss. Cody, maybe you're also welcome to ask whatever you feel like. We have a few minutes to discuss.
Maybe I just want to. I'm pretty curious, because I'm from business mathematics. So basically,
From what?
I'm from business mathematics. My
Wow, pintar ni.
jurusan, yeah. so, so usually people from business mathematics
Do you
takes
follow the
like
YouTube channel number file?
who?
The YouTube channel number file.
No, I don't follow them in YouTube.
You should.
Okay, I'll find it out after
Take
this.
note, Cody. Yeah, take note, Cody.
I'll take note. So usually people from my jurusan, usually they take like actuary, right? They become actuary or become a data analyst, right?
Yeah.
But looking forward, to be honest, I like more into like human resources. I like more into like marketing and sales. So what do you think I need to do in this kind of position? Because I feel like if I become an actuary, I don't have that kind of work-life balance there. But at the same time, currently I'm in business mathematics where I actually love studying statistics. I love studying for like economic, but I don't like working in that area. So what do you think? What the advice that you can give to me?
If you like to carry on studying what you're studying, then by all means, then just do that. And if that is something that, I mean, I don't want this session to be shaping your future life. I wouldn't like to have that kind of responsibility, but definitely if you don't like actuarial work, then don't do it. I mean, it's quite straightforward. If you find something else more useful that you can do what you're learning, then do it. If you don't, then you can always do that in your own life. Like I watch all the number 5 videos, and they're all about maths, and I became crazy about that like 3 years ago, and it's a great channel about mathematics. But I guess life is still very long for every one of you, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't really matter much what you're studying now. and it has certain relationship to what you're gonna end up with and what are you gonna do in the future, but also not that much. You can always take different courses later, or you can end up working in something and life takes you to a very different path. So in all of that, again, do what your gut tells you, but do have some kind of goal post, right? It doesn't mean that you have to have some specific goals in your life. You want to become the marketing director of Unilever when you are 35. I don't think that's very useful either, but, feel like, if I end up doing marketing, is that going to make me happy? How can I use what I've learned to do marketing? And like companies will, when I joined McKinsey, there were only 3 types of university degrees they would look at to consider for candidates: business, engineers, etc. As time moved on, everyone thought that they should open their minds to get good people from all different sorts of paths in life, and they began to look into medical doctors, lawyers, even people without the proper high S2 university degree. So, if you come to my office and you express enough passion to work at KPMG doing consulting, and you have initiative, and you have attitude, and you have a decent intellectual ability, you have already crossed half the path to join a company like KPMG.
Okay, thank you very much, Om Hangel,
Great,
for
great,
the
great.
advice. I will take it into my heart because
Yes.
I have some kind of disturbance in my heart. Because currently I love
Yes.
studying
Yes.
math,
Okay,
but
you can contact me
working.
later. It's okay.
There
Okay,
you
thank you
go.
so much,
Yeah.
Om Hangel.
Yeah.
So
Just Cody, just don't forget Omangel's advice, right? You need to
will
give it a
do.
try first, right?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, so that the last question, my question marks the end of our second webinar. I just want to say thank you so much because you already spent so many time with us today, Om Hangel. So before we
Okay.
move on, closing this session, can we take a photo first?
For sure, no
Yes.
problem.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Dafa?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I can count it. Om, mau posenya kayak gimana? Mau thumbs up kali? Atau gimana? Atau
Boleh.
gini? Boleh.
Oke,
Oke,
pose
sip.
bapak-bapak.
Oke. Bose bapak-bapak. Om. Okay. Okay, operator, counting it down. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Wonderful.
I introduce myself as Om, but many people call me Parde.
Many people call you what? Sorry.
Call you what?
Parde.
Sorry.
Oh,
Oh, Pak
Pade.
De. Oh.
Pade. Cool.
Boleh.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
then
Sip.
Dafa?
So,
Okay.
yeah. So I guess once again, that does mark the end of our second webinar. Once again, we'd like to say thank you very much for taking time out of your day in order to enlighten us with your experiences and also your knowledge and personal opinions and feelings. And we really, really do
Itu
appreciate it.
penting itu, remember, it's all personal ya. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But but again, the more perspectives we can obtain, the better we can establish our own opinion as well. So I think it's also a really good thing to learn. So yes, once again, thank you very much, and we do really hope that you have a great rest of your weekend and rest of your week.
Thank you, Mas Dafa, Mas Kodi.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Wow. Okay, Cody. That was really it was like, I think that session was like heavy in its own way, right? I feel like there was a lot of like different moral messages and also personal experiences that we were able to obtain. Keren banget sih. You also agree, right, Cody?
Yes, bener banget. That's right. Lebih ke juga kayak I feel the pressure kayak KPMG punya director
Iya
is
banget.
here, and
Iya.
consulting world is really really famous. Even di
Yes.
bisnis matematik sendiri in my jurusan tuh banyak yang interested ke consulting. Padahal emang sebenarnya kita tuh ke aktuari seharusnya gitu, data analis, aktuari.
Yeah.
But many people actually interested in consulting, dan banyak juga yang keterima sebagai intern. Yang kayak tadi Om Hangel bilang, sebenarnya McKinsey dulu terimanya cuma bisnis dan lain-lain, but sekarang tuh banyak yang bisa everybody is opening their mind because there's actually many people that is pinter juga di luar sana, tidak terbatas dengan cuman anak bisnis, anak sekon, and everyone. There's a lot of opportunity out there.
Yes, totally agree. As someone who's also very passionate about consulting, I was also very appreciative of this session as well, yeah. Karena kayak, I feel like it's like, I don't know about you, ya, cuma maksudnya hearing that you can get a sigh of relief from, like, a sigh of relief and a work-life balance from an occupation that is very well known for being very hectic, I think that's a very, very, like a very good peace of mind, right? That everyone is still able to find their own work-life balance. I think that's a very, very good main moral for me personally. And I hope everyone here on YouTube is also able to obtain their own main, main lesson or main information from our session. Because that's all that matters for us. Yang penting sih itu. Ya kan, Kot?
Yes, that's true. Okay. But before we end today's event, I want to remind everyone about something that is really important. Usually people forget about this. So everyone in the YouTube, don't forget to fill out the feedback form that will be right here. I think
there you go.
Left side. This one is for the requirement to get your e-certificates at the end of our events.
Betul banget. So that's completely right. And other than that, this helps us understand you guys better, our audience, and also it will make you a better experience and a better event for you guys, the audience, in the upcoming future as well. Now, speaking of which, so it should be over there on the screen, and we should be sending a link on the YouTube as well. Nah, something else also, Nicole, I also have another reminder for our audience on YouTube, maybe while they're filling out the feedback form, right?
Yes, tadi aku udah reminder, waktunya Anda reminder, Dav.
Iya, betul. Kayak stafet gitu ya. Oke. Jadi, don't forget to stay tuned, ya. Don't forget to stay tuned as always. And how would you do that? Well, we do highly encourage and hope that you guys will check out our social media at cube.prasmul. Once again, it's at cube.prasmul on Instagram, because once again, this isn't the end. If anything, this is the very beginning of our journey. Ya kan? Yes. So, speaking of which, we do have another webinar next week on the exact same day and the same time of the week.
Benar banget tuh. Dan pastinya minggu depan, next week, there's a lot of material that we are preparing for you. There's tons of speakers that is really cool. Gak kalah kerennya, sangat menarik sama hari ini.
Yes. Very correct. Nah, speaking of which, mungkin in order to maybe feel their curiosity, boleh kali ya kita spill sedikit tentang apa sih Kot emang materinya?
Oke, tadinya sih mau spill the tea banyak gitu, tuang teko gitu, tapi nanti aku dimarahin sama tim eventnya ya, jadi nggak boleh
dikit
guys.
aja lah.
Dikit aja lah, mungkin tetes aja lah, 1 teko ya, materinya tuh
tentang teko.
materinya tuh tentang burnout. So tomorrow the first webinar will be about burnout. I'm sure teman-teman di rumah semua itu juga pasti pernah atau mungkin tipis-tipis merasa kayak aduh capek nih, aduh bad day, apa yang tadi Om Ahel udah ngomong, burnout, capek, dan tadi juga burnout udah dibilangin sama Pak Alvin, not accounting the burnout themselves, tentang pas kerja. Jadi penting banget jangan sampai lewatin webinar kita next week.
Iya betul. Oh, ada lagi nih Coach, selain burnout, baru ingat nih. Ada juga, ini juga highly relevant for us and also for those in a professional standpoint. Ada juga tentang frenemies. Yeah, frenemies, okay? And also how to set different boundaries at work, which is, in my opinion, cukup penting ya, Kot. Because in my opinion, sometimes we forget atau bahkan we don't know how to set our own boundaries in the first place. Because, I mean, I think it's very universally accepted having separation and boundaries between, for example, professional acquaintances and also personal friends is very important. And here we'll be able to learn all about that. Nah, karena ini nih yang biasanya bikin hubungan kita sama misalnya teammates atau our own personal colleagues jadi jelek, ya kan?
Bener banget tuh. Jadi kayak kalau misalnya kita nggak ngerti how to set boundaries at work, nggak cuman at work guys. Pas kamu kerkel, pas kamu in organization, everywhere we need to set boundaries so we don't become a frenemies. Jadi intinya next week itu topiknya nggak akan kalah penting kayak Dava punya ngomong. Dan Tapi sebelum kita ngakhirin semuanya, before we end our session today, I would like to say thank you first to our kind case contributor and sponsors. So we would like to thank KPMG as our case contributor.
Yes, lalu kita juga ada our sponsors, Fruity, Juga, First Line, Alpha Skin, Mocha, and UFit. So, thank you so much to all of our sponsors and our main case recruiter and also our MedPark, because without their help, Cube 2022 gak bakal bisa sekeren ini. Itu aku jamin ya. Awesome event, ya gak sih, Kot?
Bener banget, it's very awesome.
Yeah.
Sampai aku tuh keringetan tadi, buset, pusing, sakit kepala gitu kan. Wah,
tapi like in a good way, karena
speakernya.
we're actually learning a lot of things, ya kan, Kot?
Iya, itu kayak saking kerennya tuh ke pressure gitu ya. Oh my god, kayak kalau kamu ketemu artis kayak gitu, kayak gitu.
Iya banget. Okay. Tapi ya, fortunately, this does mark the end of our webinar day 1. Tapi jangan sedih dulu ya, karena we will have many more to come, as you previously mentioned. So, once again, don't forget to watch webinar 2 on the exact same day next week at the exact same time again. So, Saturday, August 6th, I believe. And till then, we'll see you guys again next week. So, without further ado, I'm Dafa.
And I'm Cody.
And we are signing out.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Sayonara.
Have a great rest of your weekend. And
再见。
see you next week, guys. 再见。